difficult times do pass. And I remember when I was in there, and for 3 weeks I was in the most excruciating nerve pain. And I would just wake up and hope that it had gone. And I would wake up in pain and just like, as we've covered, I'm an optimist, but I cried a lot. I remember just thinking, when I was in agony, that I exist in the future. And I exist, and I am going to football matches and festivals and coming on shows like this. And I was trying to talk to my future self. In fact, I was trying to get my future self to talk to me and reach back and say, I'm at a Forest match now, you do get through this. I then went to a Forest match and stood pitch side when the stadium sang Mull of Kintyre, and it was the strangest thing. I could sort of feel myself reaching back in that moment to where I'd been.
Morning, man.
Oh, good morning.
So great to see you.
It is very, very good to see you both.
Right, what has happened between when you last came on the show? We're about to have another Edinburgh festival. You're going to play there. You got this End of an Era tour, which you're gonna sort of debut there, and then it will go on tour itself. But what's happened since the last time and this time?
Well, I had cancer on the base of the spine while I was doing the Edinburgh festival last year. This terrible nerve pain on my left buttock. Right. It was unusual. I couldn't sit down or lie down. So they gave me painkillers, I got an MRI, and then I saw the guy who'd scanned me after my last show, and they thought it might be a slipped disc. He said, I'm just very sorry, you've got cancer on the spine. And you just immediately, you are rapidly coming to terms with the fact your life is potentially going to be a lot shorter. And I was then under the care of the Royal National Orthopaedic Hospital up at Stanmore, which is an amazing place that people from all over the UK can get referred to. And an amazing surgeon there, Hani Anwar, just said, the best way to get rid of this is to cut it out. You know, radiotherapy will only shrink and control it. If you want it out, basically let me in there. And so the base of my spine removed. I was then in hospital for 10 weeks recovering from that. And I'm still on walking sticks, but my walking's coming along. I've got a stoma and, big changes to the body. But really, I think they are very, very small prices to pay for being alive, because there are moments, and I'm not sure if you had this, where you don't know what they're going to tell you next.
Yeah.
And there was a risk that it was a secondary tumour, and I know enough that if it's metastasised, that is bad news. And was rapidly bargaining with myself, thinking 5 years would be good, maybe a year. I just got married. That felt very hard. And then you have to cling to the positivity that the information gives you, which is they got it out. My body's changed, but hopefully, all of the things being equal, I've still got a long time left. And I met incredible people in there from all over the world who work in that hospital and nursed me and cared for me. And people think I'm mad when I say this. It's the most wonderful experience of my life. Yeah. It reaffirmed my view that life is magical, and you can shape it to some extent if you have the chance. And that people on the whole are very, very special, and they do wonderful things for other people. And I was kind of sad to leave in the end. The food was great. The macaroni cheese was really good. The chicken hot pot. I was like,
how long were you in there for?
10 weeks.
Right.
I mean, the first 6 weeks, because I'd been cut open at the front and the back, I could only be turned on my side every 4 hours. Right. So my wife, to give me inspiration, on one side of the room had Stuart Pearce celebrating his penalty against Spain. So for 4 hours I would look at Stuart Pearce, and then the nurses would flip me over, and then I had Ben Stokes at Headingley when he got that century. So every 4 hours I would different patriotic inspiration from these.
And did
tough
she know
guys.
something we didn't? I mean, Stuart Pearce's penalty against Spain. What wasn't she telling us?
That was an omen. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh,
that
my
was,
goodness.
There was from that point on, it was. But the physical pain was the hardest thing, because I could deal with tedium or whatever. I watched loads of football in there, loads of box sets.
Right.
I was very lucky that I had visitors coming. I thought really how hard it would be to go through that alone would be very difficult. And it really made me think about that. It was just, it's a big deal when you're in agony for a long time. Yeah. The pain was very, very hard to deal with. But once that receded, it was great. They got me up on a tilt table. So the physios go to work straight away. So I was in intensive care for a week. And they're coming and they're like wiggling your toes just to like keep your legs moving, and they're bending your legs for you and stuff. And then to get you upright, because the wound was so big, they put you on a tilt table. So you get on this thing face down, and it lifts you up like you're about to be fired out of a cannon.
Wow.
And then you walk backwards off that. So every day they would do like an extra few degrees so that you don't get woozy. I loved it. What fun that is.
So there's all the people, and then there's the technology as well. Oh, and so you've got all the gratitude for everything.
Man, the MRI, the CT scans and all that. And what was amazing was in there, if there was anything small, I think my chest is a bit tight. They're like, right, get him down to an MRI. And it was immediately scanned. Anything was solved. And in the difficult times, the thing that really made me form very strong bonds with a lot of the people who looked after me, who I'm still in touch with and become very good friends with, some of the nurses and doctors, was I could tell that they were in distress, that I was in pain. I had so many people trying to solve that problem. The catering staff were amazing, and the cleaners. The first people that I'd come in and see in the morning, they'd see that I was upset, and they'd hold my hand or try and cheer me up. I mean, they're amazing people.
Day in, day out.
Day in, day out. And it was...
For years.
Oh, man. But also my wife was the single most crucial thing, was she came all day, every day. And I think... when you're the patient, it's hard, but you're just enduring physical... You're just on a ride, really, and you're just waiting for it to stop. I think for people very close to you to see you in that level of distress and to see you sort of waste away in the way that you do, I think those images must be very hard to deal with. Whereas for me, everyone who came in, it was like a treat. People brought me... There was the best bit, my God... I lost quite a lot of weight while I was in there, and they said you've got to have puddings with every meal now.
Yes!
So I'd have, it was like it was like something out of a Roald Dahl. I was like Bruce Bogtrotter or Augustus Gloop. Every meal, I would have cornflakes followed by apple pie and custard. Yeah. I'd have macaroni cheese followed by apple crumble and custard. I'd have chicken hot pot. There were just like chocolate biscuits.
Sugar. I thought sugar was bad for you, but it can't be all bad for you, can it? In certain...
They literally said to me, you could have a McDonald's and it would do you good. Because the wound was so big, it was just eating up all the calories, healing.
Right.
So I had to put more fuel into anything going in was helping it heal. And I'd sort of, in the run up to it, because my wife's vegetarian, started eating less meat. And obviously, there are a lot of conversations about how it's healthier for you and better for the planet and things. But I still like it. Chicken was crucial to my recovery. There is more protein in chicken than any meat substitute. And I'm convinced... I didn't have any issues with my wound, which is really unusual because it's huge. And I thought that was going to be my issue. Prior to the operation, when I was talking to some of the physios, some of them said, just eat chicken. Because the protein in that will really, really help you.
Who told you that?
It was Laura, who was one of the physios at Stanmore. And every day my wife would bring me just cooked chicken, and I would have that alongside the custard and the pies.
Wow.
I'm convinced. So some chicken I think is really good for you. Tofu won't help you heal in the same way.
Right.
So for your, I don't know what you call it, just your general health, I think a bit of chicken.
No,
I heartily
more and
recommend.
more people are saying it, arguments for and against, but this is a big argument for. Talking to Matt Forde now about the end of an era tour. I mean, if you go and see Matt, you're going to be given great gig anyway, but it's going to be plus from now on, because I can't help feeling this is going to be a show of inspiration and experience, as well as absolute, belly laughs as usual. You've got to be careful with your belly and your bottom laughs.
I know, yeah.
Matt's just shown us his scar.
Yeah.
We on the show a couple of weeks ago, we just chanced upon a scar chat, and I've got the opposite of a cancer scar of yours. My scar looks like one of your stitches. Right, my whole scar.
Incredible.
And we had a scar off, and loads of people were sending pictures of their scars and lovely stories. Because if you got a scar, A, you're still here. Yes. B, you have an experience, and C, some lovely people probably helped you to get better. So it was a lovely couple of hours. But if you meet Matt Forde in a bar anywhere and he chances you to a scar off, walk away. That is some scar, my friend.
It's like a shark bite, isn't
It's ridiculous.
But isn't what I love about it? The craftsmanship, that the lines are so neat.
Well, they take real pride in it.
My God. I look at that scar sometimes in the mirror like I would architecture. Yeah. I just think the handiwork. I love it.
It's massive, that, isn't it? It's a big diamond. Should we describe it?
Yeah, it's like an Umbro diamond on the small of my back.
It is.
Where they cut me opened me up like a tin of beans, and then carved the base of my spine out, and that was removed.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little bit deceiving, that the way Matt described it, because he said the small of his back. The scar is huge. It is a perfect Umbro shape. You're right. It's a sort of squidged diamond, isn't it? And it's so big, it goes around your thighs. Yeah. You can't actually see the point. It's massive. It's about 12 inches by 24 inches.
Oh, it's a good old... It's a big old deal. But you know what? The other bit that was miraculous, so my surgery was in 3 stages. The first part, I've now got a stoma and a colostomy bag because the nerves to the bladder and the bowel are on that part of the spine. So they create that first, and they cut you open at the front to wrap the tumour from this side, flip me over, open me up, take the base of the spine out, and then the final bit, plastic surgeons to cover the gap where the bone was and to mimic the role that the sacrum plays, created a muscle flap from basically pulling the muscles up from my buttocks like curtains and creating this thing. So I basically got a free bum lift on the NHS. I am I'm tight. I started wearing Speedos.
You're great. You're great. Adele Roberts was here the other day talking about her stoma.
What an inspiration.
Have you read her book?
I haven't yet. No, I've ordered it.
So good. So good.
You can't underestimate. There's Adele. There was the girl on the Traitors. And I forget her name from, I think, Made in Chelsea. I got so much inspiration from those three.
Right.
Because I'm like 40, 41. I'm still quite young to have gone through something like this. But having a stoma and a colostomy bag at first is it's repellent, really. I found it really disgusting and quite hard to come to terms with. And then just seeing, like, bright, happy young women dealing with it, I was like, well, that is a total inspiration.
Yeah.
They're so strong. And they're so impressive for talking about it. And I just thought, the reason why I don't mind talking about it is I could have done with hearing from someone like me beforehand.
Yeah.
I would have found it very, very helpful. So loads of people live with it. I mean, I was at Wembley. I went to the Women's FA Cup final a few months ago. I was queuing for the loos. And just sort of checked one of the cubicles. And the guy in front said, all right, Forde. And he lifted up his shirt and he had a stoma as well. And this guy was like fit as a fiddle. Look at him, you would never know. And it's a real lesson that I think when you're going through something very difficult, you can fall into the trap of thinking, well, I'm the only one going through this. Everyone else is out there. They're going to the pub. They're going to festivals, having this wonderful life, and I'm stuck in here, and when will I get out? Everyone has stuff going on in their lives.
Totally.
And if they don't now, they will at some point. And you can walk past them on the street and presume that they're fine. But they've got all sorts of different battles. And I just thought, I'm so lucky to live in a developed country where we have this sort of care, that it's free at the point of use, but to have an amazing wife, family and friends. And how could you not come away from that thinking that was the most wonderful thing to have done?
Well, because people of a different mindset wouldn't be able to. I mean, you're blessed with the mindset as well.
I think that's I've thought about this so often. I've always been an optimist. And I think it's just pure luck of the draw. I think it's biochemical. I think you have to have a sense of perspective in life. You know, it's okay to be upset when things are bad. I'm not deluded. Sad things affect me, but I think in general you have to then be able to become quite philosophical about it. And when you think you're going to die at 40, really you think, well, what is life about? Obviously you want to live as long as possible, but you want to live as happy as possible and as well as possible, and that's about health and mental health, but it's also about the things that you really enjoy. And I actually thought if he was going to say, look, you've got less than a year, that would be very, very sad. But I would be able to reflect on my life and think, you know what, I had a really good time. I met an amazing woman, and we did lovely things. So, and obviously now we still are, which is great. But I would have hated to have thought, I wish I'd have, I went to the Euros final the other year, not yesterday. Bought a ticket, paid a bit extra for it because and I thought it sort of occurred to me, I was like, I'm glad I paid over the odds for that ticket and went to that final. Was at Wembley when we almost won it. I'm glad that I did those things. So I think in life, the day-to-day obviously occupies the mind so much, and that's understandable. But I think it's good to just occasionally think, am I enjoying what I'm doing? How can I make myself happier? The thing that I crave more than anything sometimes is just sitting down having a cup of tea and listening to a record. That is like such bliss.
Gold. You
know what, as well? You've got to do this. Sleep with a pillow between your knees, right? They did this in hospital so that I didn't get pressure sores. I still do it.
Yeah.
It will improve your happiness. You go to bed. I'm into like robes now and duvets and blankets. I was like, that's for women, cushions and stuff. Now I'm like cushions, robes.
Soft furnishings.
Oh, soft furnishings, man. Isn't soft great?
It's the best.
Like, why are we sitting on these hard stuff? Benches in pubs made of just a solid wood. Cushions. We need hammocks in pubs and netting. Just like stuff that's, like that envelops you. Yeah, ball pulls. Just be comfortable. Like being physically comfortable is like, that's what I want more than anything now. I just want to get on the sofa and
oh my God, I'm not sure I can take how happy you are.
Oh,
you've always been one of the happiest people we ever have on. You're even happier now than you were then.
I know, but seeing you as well, and obviously when I heard that you had cancer, I was just like, oh no. I was so pleased that it was dealt with quickly.
Yeah, well, likewise, mate.
But you're such a radiant and happy person. And don't underestimate. I really thought about this actually going back to stand-up comedy. I'd always been quite flippant about, when people say, "Oh, comedy's like the best medicine," and how important it is. And I'd always just thought, well, I'm basically showing off. I'm doing this selfishly. I enjoy entertaining people and being silly. But all this has taught me that actually, like, the value of that, the value of being... People are listening right now to this for free. They're sat there listening to you, and you are cheering them up for free. I mean, isn't that amazing? This isn't just like background noise.
I like to point I don't do it for free. Just pointing that out. Yeah. That's important that I point that out.
Yeah. I'm sure your agent
So you
would
listen
like
for free.
Yeah.
No, but as far as your movement now is concerned, so you just came in here, you have a couple of canes.
Yeah. Harry and Michael.
Citizen. So where are you now? Prognosis going forward. Where are you with it all?
So eventually I won't need the sticks. That's just my muscles, because they were rearranged to create that flap. They sort of want to go in a different direction.
Right.
So it's about training them. And I wasted away a lot when I was in there because I couldn't move. So it's just about building strength, and it's incremental. And I think that was another thing that I took from it is... In life, we're often used to, right, I need this by Friday, that's to be done by Monday, whatever. We have deadlines in life of all sorts of things, council tax or the Tesco delivery, whatever it is. Sometimes in life, you just have to accept that you don't know when things are going to be finished.
Yes.
And that actually, you solve one problem, but that creates another little problem, and it's just like a constant process of just finessing things.
And we make a lot of that up anyway in the first place, don't we?
Definitely. And also, like with the stoma, at first I was like, I'm not self-conscious. I don't really care what anyone thinks. I don't want to have an accident with it. That would be mortifying, but I'd tidy myself up. It wouldn't be the end of the world.
Yeah.
Who cares, really? Like, we all poo, and, like, I just poo in a different way. I mean, if anything, I feel like I'm the next stage in evolution. I think this is a superior way to defecate, and I think all you back pooers are living in the past.
Yeah, of course. We're way behind the curve,
You
aren't
dinosaurs.
We? Oh, my gosh. So how is this going to feed into the new act?
I do a little bit about it, but obviously...
You'll do more.
My bread and butter is, like... I love doing impressions of politicians and whatever else. And like that, we're going through a period where we've just had a general election. There's a big one in America. Who knows how that plays out and everything. But obviously, I can't like hobble onto stage and not mention it.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of stuff in there. And I do kind of think, I never really did personal stuff. I actually oddly quite enjoy it. I think it's quite nice to get stuff out of life and then create something out of it.
It's also so inspiring, Matt. I mean, you know, you fix people with your comedy anyway, but you're going to fix them with your heart as well.
Well, I just think life can be very, very tough, but difficult times do pass. And I remember when I was in there, and like for 3 weeks I was in the most excruciating nerve pain, and like no painkiller would touch it.
So they ask you, don't they? They ask you to describe it out of 10.
Yes.
So you were 10 for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I think I was saying I was an 8 because I was like it could always get higher, but and then I was like I think it is 10.
Okay.
And like I couldn't touch anything from the waist down, and I would wake up because they'd say to me sometimes it would just take a step down.
Right.
And I would just wake up and hope that it had gone, and I would wake up in pain and just like. As we've covered, I'm an optimist, but I cried a lot and was just deeply distressed by the agony of it. And I didn't want it to change my personality. I thought, I hope this doesn't make me a pessimistic person, that somehow like this has a legacy.
Well,
Do you know what I mean?
I can assure you that's not the
Well,
case.
thank God for that. But I remember just thinking, when I was in agony, that I exist in the future. And I exist and I am going to football matches and festivals and coming on shows like this. And I was trying to talk to my future self. In fact, I was trying to get my future self to talk to me and reach back and say, I'm at a Forest match now. You do get through this. I then went to a Forest match and stood pitch side when the stadium sang Mull of Kintyre. And it was the strangest thing. I could sort of feel myself reaching back in that moment to where I'd been and said, it was almost like I was having the same conversation as word for word. I'd remembered how it felt. And I was almost stood in the spot where I thought I would be. It was this amazing moment of just like personal time travel. I was like, you got through it, and here we are. We lost 1-0. You know, it was all worth it.
And was that relief, or was that gratitude, or was it a combination? Was it overwhelm?
Everything. And obviously, football stadiums are emotional places.
Yeah.
They're loud.
There's a lot
They're soaring. You know, they're churches. But it was a lot of gratitude, but also just. I kept telling myself, this will pass. This will pass. I used to imagine just little grains of sand. Every moment I was getting closer. I didn't know when it was going to end, but everything was getting me there. And then you get there and you think, my God. But equally, you can't get stuck in that. You know, it's very easy to go, actually, I sort of want to dwell on this and feel sorry for my former self and think, oh, poor you. And you think, well, I don't have to go there. Yeah. I can just go. It was rubbish then. I was upset then. I don't need to keep reliving the trauma. Yeah. This is what I was desperate for. Here I am. Life is wonderful. I'm very lucky to have the life that I have. I've always believed that. And, then it's fun. You're like, well, I went through that to be able to do this, to be able to drink beer and watch England lose. You know, that's what it's all about.
Did you prepare any of this tour while you were in hospital for 10 weeks?
Do you know what? I didn't. And I sort of thought, I'm not going to try and do anything creative when I'm in here. I'm just going to be a patient.
Right.
I don't want to be one of those people almost like going, well, I'm going to be firing off emails and stuff like that. I mean, I maybe did a bit of that early on. But my head was so out of any, you know, because medication alone, like you're on a lot of opioids and things, and just recovering from.
And you're very much in your body because of the pain, aren't you?
Absolutely, you just exist basically as a blob that is like healing, and you just have to make peace with that. And I watched Seinfeld and Curb, and I binged both of those. Oh my God, they really helped me get through it.
What did you learn from Seinfeld?
You know what I learned from it is. That writing, obviously this was sort of relevant to my line of work, but just the writing is so neat. And I just love the fact that the characters actually, apart from Elaine, really aren't that very likeable.
Yeah.
And yet I found it so comforting to spend time with these like misanthropic people.
I think he's so precise as a writer, Seinfeld, that gives him an ease with his performance because the writing is so succinct, so concise.
It's great. And obviously it's slightly retro, so it's got that warm American, almost Vaseline on the lens feel. So I found that and Curb. I'll tell you what I couldn't watch. I love Married at First Sight. Because it was like nerve pain. Anytime there was an argument, my pain would spike. So it's like, I can't handle people kicking off. Similarly, and I've really reflected on this, was I used to believe in God, and I'm open-minded, but I don't. But if people told me they were praying for me, it would give me like a momentary second of pain relief. My pain would just dip. And it was the same if people just said they were thinking of me or wishing me well. But my mum was a nun before she had me, and I know she prayed a lot. My mother-in-law did, and other people would say, at our prayer group, we thought of you. A lot of people I've never met were praying for me. And any time I was told that, it would just go from 10 to maybe 7.5 for just a bit, and then come back up. And I thought, that's like a physical...
It's love.
I mean, but it is. Yeah. And feeling it was literal pain relief. Yeah. I mean, that did more in that moment than like opioids could, or anaesthetic. I just think that's miraculous. So the mind and the heart really control a lot of our feelings.
It's like when you see somebody and you're really struggling in a race, you know, like you get to 20 miles, you see your family, you get the next half mile for free.
Yes.
You literally can't feel it.
That's so true. I mean, you run a lot. I did the London Marathon once, but like just someone calling out your name would like, you could just give that extra bit of adrenaline.
Yeah.
You're like, well, that was sitting inside me. Why had it not been released until now? Like, why is my body only throwing adrenaline on as a sub in the 90th minute?
Well, you got some more love, because you're getting it. Claire, the nurse from Staffordshire. I'm a nurse, and I've had to stop the car as Matt has made me cry with gratitude and appreciation. What an amazing guy. He's lifted me higher than a hare can jump. Love the show. They don't jump that high, they just sort of jump far. Rich says, oh, wow, Matt Forde, you just took me through a month's worth of emotions hearing you talk about your cancer. My wife was diagnosed at the end of 2021, and she's now in remission. She benefited from a charity called Someone Like Me. Never lose hope, pass it on. Angela, we had tickets to see Matt in Maidstone last year. We didn't care if it was cancelled, then rescheduled, as long as he's okay.
Thank you. Oh, man. Are people kind?
So good to hear Matt is on the mend. What an inspirational survival story. Just wanted to say I love Matt's podcast, British Scandal. It's still going. It's brilliant and keeps me entertained on long runs. Sharon says, listening to the conversation with Matt Forde, would like to add that Maggie's Cancer Centres are so supportive and run groups for all cancer types where you can talk to others undergoing similar situations. They helped me with my head and neck cancer at the Swansea group.
Phenomenal. I mean, there's so many groups like that. Maggie's, Macmillan do incredible stuff.
Oh. There was another Riverside walk this weekend. So I went for my usual walk, run, shuffle thing, and there was an amazing setup for this Thameside walk. I think it was a 26 mile or something. Most people walk in, but the organisation they do it so well. They had this halfway stage at Cookham, and the only reason I'm saying all this is because they make it very easy for people to raise money for them. And if you're in the charity business, you've got to make it easy for people. It's not their job to join in. It's your job to get them to join in. And Macmillan do it so well.
That is such a good point. And people want to help. This is the thing. You do, like, it is about reaching out to people and making it easy.
What are you going to do with your super talent? Because you can do it. You can fix this now. You can fix loads of these things. No, but you really can. I mean, you're going on tour, which is great.
Yeah.
You know, and you're bloody brilliant at it. And I wish you all the best. MattForde.com for tickets for the End of an Era tour. Begins on Wednesday, 2nd of October in Norwich until Wednesday, the 12th of March. It'll be brilliant because it's always brilliant anyway. And he'll have tested it out, road tested it at Edinburgh. So he'll be battle fit. And he's got all this other stuff going on as well. It's going to be the best tour. It's going to be the most moving tour that you've ever done for yourself and for your audience.
It's amazing being back on stage and, you know, the people that wait for you afterwards and say nice things. You just realise in life... And obviously, we're in a position where we've got public profile, so more people know who we are. Obviously, everyone knows who you are. But this is also true for other people, is there'll be people that you've maybe met once or twice. If they hear that you're going through a difficult time, they do care about you.
Massively.
People are really empathetic.
Yeah.
And I just think it's so cool that, whether it's a radio show or a podcast or a stand-up tour, whatever it is that you put out there that people like, that then they have like an emotional connection to you and they really root for you. And I've really felt, I just thought, well, people like what I do and, you know, otherwise you get too big-headed, I think. But when people approach you afterwards and they've been through hardship and just seeing you talk about it has helped.
It's mega.
Because I'm not doing it for that, do you know what I mean? I'm not trying to, like, do that sort of thing, but how can you not talk about it?
But you have that within your gift now. And you didn't before. You didn't, as much as you're very funny. You have values. You have political standpoints. Perspectives, and you're very in touch with people from the ground up. You've always been that kind of person. Socialist. Die in the wool socialist. You care about people first, and that's it, and everything else second. That's what you do. But now you've got all that plus this other thing going on, and you can really make a difference, Matt.
Well, I just think you kind of have to talk about it if you've got a platform. Yeah. Particularly, I think, the stoma thing, because I know that I always found it a bit disgusting really when people talked about it. I thought, ugh, and it looks painful, and it's not, and it's dead easy. And I remember my surgeon saying to me, I also have to self-catheterise to pee, and like that. It's like, I never thought I would get used to that. It's dead easy.
Right.
He said, when people come back, they never mention these things. I was like, I just don't believe you. I can't believe that people don't say the colostomy bag and cathetering is like not. It is so easy, and so many buildings. The toilets here are great. The disabled toilets. They've got hooks and little things. Like just being stoma aware is a big deal because it's opened my eyes to what it's like to be disabled, really. And obviously, I would suggest the kind of shallow end of that pool.
Yeah.
But a lot of disabled toilets in pubs and things are foul, and you think. It's bad enough for me on sticks, but if I was in a wheelchair, I wouldn't be able to go to the toilet because you've used it as a storeroom, because you don't value people whose bodies are different.
Well, you've been accused of talking SIH before, but you really can now.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's time to talk.
It is.
Here we go. Matt, we're out of time. We're getting so much love for you, man. We can't let you go without describing your night watching one of the Euros matches with Keir Starmer. Please tell me you did Keir Starmer to Keir Starmer.
Yeah, well, what he now does, my impression of him... back to me. So the phrase that I always thought you had to master to get Keir Starmer
come on.
was the Metropolitan Police. So when I see him now, he'll go, like if I've done a gig, he'll go, how was that go right? And he'll go, the Metropolitan Police. It's like, I think he thinks it's not a very good impression, which I think people, when you impersonate them, tend to think that. But he's the other one to get is the fundamentals of global economic competition. There's sort of like the block nose and then the staccato P's and T sounds.
Yeah. But just for the record, you voted Tory again, yeah?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he. I got to know him, obviously, because of the political podcast I do. I know a lot of politicians, and a lot of them were very, very nice. Keir came to visit me in hospital.
Did he actually?
Yeah, him and his wife, and I mean, that was hilarious because we just talked about VAR the whole time. It was really funny, like, because you're a proper full-on football fan. So then,
no, I know, yeah.
He wanted to watch, we were sort of chatting about where to watch the game.
All right,
it was
quickly
great.
before you go, Southgate, yes or no, stay or go?
He has to stay.
I agree.
It's got to 2 finals.
I know.
It's mad. No one ever in the men's game has done this.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Stay to the World Cup and then that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, done.
Give it another go. But he's the best in my life by a mile.
With you. Anything else you'd like to say? We're out of time, but
I would just like to say...
we love you.
I always love coming here. You are wonderful, warm, generous people. It's always great fun.
Control room, round of applause for the one, the only, Matt Forde! Come on, Matt! Go and see Matt, mattforde.com. Okay, the dates are everywhere. You can't miss him, really. Just somewhere in Britain he'll be playing between February, October, November, February, March.
Virgin Radio.